Good morning, and thank you for joining us. My name is Patty Salkin, and I'm the Dean at Touro Law Center. The Touro Law Center community, like many other communities, has suffered significant loss as a result of Hurricane Sandy. We are aware of a number of students and staff members who have lost their homes, cars, computers, books, and other items. No classes were held this week, as most of our community is still without power and without a means of transportation or gas for their cars. When we learned that remarkably our building did not lose power, those of us who were able to safely get here did so with one goal in mind: helping those in need. Our school was founded on the values of academic excellence, social justice, and community service. We have always been there when people need help, and now we are preparing once again to respond to a crisis in our community. For years, our students and faculty have had extensive experience working in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And from them, we know that the victims of a devastating hurricane need, among other things, help with emergency shelter, emergency food, including food stamps, assistance with FEMA applications, government assistance for small business, insurance issues, consumer fraud and gouging issues, employment and unemployment issues, medical issues, child custody support, personal injury issues, tax issues, immigration and documentation, domestic violence issues, and many others. Today, I'm pleased to announce the launch of Touro Law Center Hurricane Emergency Assistance Response Team, or TLC-HEART. TLC-HEART represents a collaborative effort of students, faculty, and staff of Touro Law Center, as well as partners from national, statewide, and local organizations. Today's announcement is especially important because many of our partners are not able to offer assistance yet because their offices are not operational due to lack of power. We're pleased to take a leadership role in coordinating the local legal pro bono effort and helping to support other legal service providers until they too can get back online. Touro's ongoing public interest has given us experience in dealing with people in crisis every single day of the year. Tom Maligno, Executive Director of our Public Advocacy Center, will be our lead coordinator for TLC-HEART. I want to especially thank the New York State Bar Association pro bono effort and lawyer referral program and the ABA Young Lawyers Division, who have already provided networking and support. In fact, yesterday, the ABA Young Lawyer District Representative spent the morning at Touro Law Center helping to brief our team on her experiences dealing with the aftermath of the destruction from Hurricane Irene. Our other early partners include the Suffolk County Bar Association, Amistad Bar, the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island, Empire Justice, Judge Hendricks, the Administrative Judge of the Suffolk County Courts, the county attorneys, United Way, and many other government agencies and officials. Beginning on Monday, we will be staffing a local hotline at Touro Law where people can call for referrals. The number is 631-761-7198. That's 631-761-7198. We've set up a website and a Facebook page where members of the community can already access helpful information about legal and community resources. We expect TLC-HEART to be operational at least through the remainder of the academic year. We also plan to take the following actions: offer training to students, staff, and faculty in cooperation with the State Bar, the Suffolk County Bar, and Empire Justice, among others. Collaborate with the bar associations to develop a database of attorney volunteers, starting with our Touro alumni. Continue to add to the legal referral guide we have started to develop, parts of which are already online. Work with the local nonprofit communities, faith-based communities, and other groups to continue to identify the unmet legal needs of the community and to raise resources and collect supplies to help those in immediate need. We hope to not only be a model for other law schools, but to also incorporate students from other schools into our effort. In fact, I've already reached out to Albany Law School to request their help, and my colleague, President and Dean Penny Andrews, immediately said yes. We will work on outreach to the community to let them know what we have to offer, and we will draw upon the rich diversity of our student body, who collectively speak more than 25 different languages fluently at home. They will help us to more effectively communicate with all who may need our help. As soon as it's safe, we will work with government officials and nonprofit organizations to send teams on site to disaster-ridden areas where we can provide in-person support to help people rebuild their lives and their homes. We are committed to a sustained effort which will be housed in our Public Advocacy Center. The Law Center is also committed to providing disaster relief and assistance to our students and staff. Touro Law Center community is fortunate to house a nonprofit organization called TLC, run by Leela Meister, who together with staff and faculty raise money year-round to assist students and staff in need. Nobody expected this, and now they've redoubled their efforts. With me today are a number of partners and members of the Touro Law Center community who you will hear from. But first I want to recognize and thank Jane Lakova from the Suffolk County Bar Association and Valerie Cartwright from Amistad. I'd next like to introduce a good friend of Touro Law, Congressman Steve Israel.
Thank you very much to Dean Salkin. I am very happy to be here. I am happy to be anywhere where there are lights and heat and electricity, and you are very fortunate to have those things right now. I want to thank the Dean, Seymour James, the President of the New York State Bar Association, for being here, Gwen O'Shea, President and CEO of the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island, and Legislator Montano, who was here, Professor McGow, who's an expert in disaster law, Theresa Regnante from United Way, and so many others. You know, disasters bring out the best and the worst of human nature. We saw in this disaster, it brought out the best in many people. We saw acts of heroism, acts of compassion. We saw people who did what had to be done to help. But you also see, when disaster strikes, the worst of human nature in some cases. You see people who try and profit off misery. You see price gouging at gas stations. You see consumer ripoffs. And somebody's got to hold these abusers accountable. Long after the power is restored, we're going to have people who, having confronted the loss of their homes, confronted, in some cases, tragically, the loss of lives in families and loved ones and friends, now have to go up against a bureaucracy, have to go up against a big insurance company, have to deal with homeowners' claims and other things. It is one thing for government to protect people from winds and flood, but we also have to protect their pocketbooks. And that's why I'm so happy that Touro Law Center has assembled this important project. People need a resource, and Touro Law Center is providing that resource. Let me make one other announcement on an action that I took today. I am very concerned right now with two consumer issues post-hurricane. One is price gouging at the pump. The Attorney General of the state of New York has made it clear, if you're going to try and rip people off at the gas stations, we will find you, we will prosecute you, we will punish you. And so I'm urging my constituents, when you go to the gas station, and we're working on right now, today's challenge is making sure that the fuel is being delivered to the terminals, and the fuel trucks are getting into the terminals, and the fuel trucks are getting gas out of the terminals to gas stations. But if you go to a gas station and you feel that you're being ripped off, make sure you save your receipt, contact my office, or contact the State Attorney General directly, or contact the Touro Law School team. And we will go to bat for you to make sure that somebody who's trying to rip you off after you have had the roof ripped off your house is getting punished. Second thing, I think this is going to have long-term implications in terms of insurance companies. Now, several years ago, Congress passed legislation to make sure that we never again have to hear that some financial institutions are too big to fail. And in that legislation, we created something called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has oversight and authority to make sure that the American people aren't ripped off by financial institutions and banks and investment houses as they were in too many cases before. Yesterday, I contacted Richard Cordry, who's the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and asked him to immediately appoint a federal insurance oversight monitor. I want the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to have somebody who is going to be watching insurance companies to make sure that people aren't getting ripped off, to make sure that they don't go through this maze of wind versus water, which happened a couple years ago. Legislator Montano remembers that, where the hurricane came and then you were told, well, your policy covered wind but not water, or your policy covered water but not wind. It didn't cover whatever you need. We don't want that to happen again. And so I've asked the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to appoint a federal insurance oversight monitor to make sure that the law is being complied with, that insurance companies, and most insurance companies are good, they're reasonable, they're not looking to rip you off, but where there's a bad actor, we want to make sure that that bad actor is being overseen, prosecuted, and punished. Final point on this, the flood recedes, the wind dies down, the energy will be back on, the lights will be back on, but we have to be vigilant against greed, which sometimes is eternal. And that's why I'm so happy that Touro Law Center is assembling this team to protect the pocketbooks of Long Islanders, and that's why I think it's so essential for the federal government to prosecute the bad guys and protect, as I said before, not only homes and property, but pocketbooks. Dean, thank you again for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Those are really some excellent initiatives, and we look forward to working with you and your staff. It's now my privilege to introduce a good friend, the president of the New York State Bar Association, Seymour James. And President James, I just want to thank you again, because when Tom and I called your staff a few days ago, they were there at the other end of the phone immediately and said, what can we do to help? And less than an hour later, we were on a conference call with even more people from the State Bar staff. So thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you, Dean Salkin. It's really a pleasure to be here with Congressman Israel and Legislator Montano, as well as the staff from Touro Law School. First and foremost, on behalf of the New York State Bar Association, I'd like to express our concern and support for all those affected by the storm, and our best wishes to them for a speedy recovery from this devastation. I also have to thank Dean Salkin and the Touro Law Center for their work in quickly bringing together so many organizations to coordinate pro bono efforts in this region. In addition to the immediate needs facing the affected communities, such as the need for food, water, and shelter, we anticipate that there will be an enormous need for legal assistance in the coming weeks, as the full impact of this hurricane is revealed. And beyond those coming weeks, in the many months to come, we expect there'll be even further need for legal assistance. We at the State Bar are committed to working in conjunction with the local bar associations and legal services providers in the affected areas to provide help to people in need. In fact, the Legal Aid Society in New York City has already agreed to partner with us in this effort, along with many other bar associations. In 2 weeks, the State Bar will host a training program for attorneys, which will be webcast and archived for later viewing. The training will focus on important issues related to disaster relief, including FEMA applications, insurance, real estate issues, and other general legal matters. It is our hope that this will be a valuable resource for attorneys and local bar associations as we work together to respond to the crisis. We've also reached out to our pro bono coordinators network throughout the state to spread the word about the needs of the storm survivors and recruit volunteer attorneys to assist those affected by the hurricane. In addition, like Touro, the State Bar has established a dedicated hotline with volunteer attorneys offering free telephone consultations on disaster relief issues. We are recruiting attorneys who are willing to provide this assistance, and I would encourage any lawyers who are interested to visit the State Bar Association website for more information. We are incredibly grateful to the attorneys in New York State who consistently go above and beyond to serve their communities through pro bono. We know that there will be a great need for our assistance in the wake of this terrible storm. I'd like to encourage all attorneys to consider getting involved and thank all of those who have already volunteered. Thank you.
President James, we look forward to being a downlink site for the webcast for the training, which we are all anxiously awaiting. So thank you for taking the lead on coordinating that. I'd also like to introduce our legislator, Ricardo Montano, who also is a member of the Touro Law Center Board of Governors.
Thank you, Dean, and thank you for inviting me and having this forum. Congressman Israel, it's good seeing you again. Mr. James. As it was said, I'm a member of the Board of Governors of Touro. I'm also an attorney for 37 years, a little over 37 years, and I'm the legislator from this district. And my office is right there on Carlton Avenue. Talk about abuses. The other day we got a call from a constituent who, right after the storm, went to get a cup of coffee because he had no electricity, was charged $10 for a cup of coffee. If you look at the line on Suffolk Avenue, these are real examples. The line for gas extends on Suffolk Avenue from 111 to Carlton Avenue. These are things that, when I was in the Attorney General's office, we've been down this road. So I can say very clearly that this is a great effort. We know the maze that people are going to go through in terms of trying to get their insurance claims, trying to get reimbursed for losses, trying to find documents that are lost and destroyed. And this effort is going to go a long way in solving some of the problems that are going to be part of the aftermath of what's happened now. Right now, we want to get electricity. I myself don't have electricity. We have not seen that many trucks on the road. We know that there are some serious issues, but if you've seen the news, this is a real tragedy. So this effort will continue. We will work with you. Anyone who needs assistance, my office is, as I said, it's open. It's staffed. We don't have internet, but people are calling in. Yesterday, we received a call. A young couple was to get married this Saturday. Of course, the wedding was called off. They paid $25,000, and the hall refuses to refund their money. These are things that are touching everyday people and their lives, and this effort will go a long way. You can add the Hispanic Bar Association to the list of organizations that will help, and I'm very pleased to join this as a member of the board, as an attorney, as a legislator. We're going to do what we need to make sure that people are adequately taken care of and their needs are not forgotten after electricity is restored. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Legislator Montano, and please know that the Touro Law Center community is committed to making sure that we're a good neighbor and that we take care of our neighbors in the community here. So we look forward to working with you and your staff as well. I want to introduce a couple of our nonprofit agency partners. We have been fortunate enough through our Public Advocacy Center to have a wonderful relationship with the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island, and I'm pleased that Gwen O'Shea, their president and CEO, is with us this morning.
Thank you, Dean, for inviting us here today. I want to acknowledge and thank Congressman Israel and Legislator Montano for your continuous leadership on behalf of all individuals, protecting Long Islanders from every aspect. And so it's not a surprise to see you both here because we know that you are champions for every individual that resides in your community. So pleasure to be here with you, along with Tom Maligno, who has done a fantastic job as the executive director running the PAC. And as the Dean noted, the Health and Welfare Council has been a longtime member of the PAC here at Touro, the Public Advocacy Center, which really represents coordination and collaboration amongst health and human service providers, which is one of the other programs that we run, which is referred to as the Long Island VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. And as the umbrella agency for health and human service providers, we know very well that when there is a disaster, while our first responders do a wonderful job handling the immediate need, it is the health and human service nonprofit sector that plays that role in terms of long-term recovery. And what has been very apparent to us as we've been responsive to Long Islanders after the onset of other disasters is the critical need of legal support and legal assistance to a cross-section of individuals here on Long Island. Many individuals are delayed in coming forward or hesitant in coming forward because they may have immigrant concerns, they may have financial concerns, but we know working with Touro and the proactive nature that Touro has taken in this, we will be able to communicate with communities that may be resistant much earlier on so that they know these supports are here for them. And timing is everything. This coordination of legal assistance is going to be so critical now because the one difference of this disaster in comparison to others is that Long Islanders are struggling in a way they've never struggled before. So before the disaster, individuals were having trouble paying bills, making ends meet. More folks were struggling than ever. Many folks this week were not able to work. They were not able to get a paycheck. They were not able to make those basic ends meet. And the likelihood of them filling that gap may not come to pass for all of them. So there may be some legal concerns that come up with that. Folks that have housing issues, we know that they're going to need the legal support that's going to be provided through Touro and all of the other partners and the other bar associations that are here. We are happy to partner along with United Way to continue to share this information with folks through the 211 system as early and as quickly and as continuously as possible, because the more different paths that folks hear about this information and know that it is a viable, credible, reliable source and resource, the more individuals we are going to be able to impact and assist. And I want to commend the Dean for extending this throughout the academic year, because as was noted in some of the earlier comments, while we are addressing the immediate need of finding shelter and getting food and water to individuals, the impact of a disaster and the recovery goes much longer than the first week or two after disaster hits. So knowing that those most vulnerable and at risk will be able to tap into this legal assistance for the upcoming months is critical to seeing Long Islanders recover. So I want to thank everyone that's here today from Touro, the State Bar, the other nonprofits, and of course our elected officials and the Dean for really spearheading such a critical, important initiative for Long Islanders.
Thank you, Gwen. And, you know, I think one of the things that you mentioned, the idea that people can get information from different places and that the overlap is good, I agree. And having the coordinated effort and the lines of communication between all of these different organizations is going to help make us all stronger, better informed, and working together with the training and other resources that the providers need as well in order to do our jobs well. So another major place for support on Long Island is the United Way, and we're really pleased that Theresa Regnante, President and CEO, is here with us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Dean, our elected officials, and Gwen stated so eloquently that this is a community coming together in a very, very desperate time for so many. So as you really look at what's happened from the North Shore to the South Shore and how residents get connected to information, United Way plays a vital role in the portal of communication. So we're here today just to really reiterate that there is a system that every Long Islander can call into on their phone, 211. It's a federally established, something that we've established maybe 8-9 years ago, and it will connect every Long Islander to the information, whether it is food, shelter, clothing. We'll make sure that this project is hooked to that 211 center. Anybody that calls on Monday with a legal concern will be a warm transfer back into the Touro Center. The United Ways across 8 states opened up one unified fund yesterday, UnitedWayHurricaneSandy.org, and that money is really going to be utilized for projects like this. The dollars that the United Way raises over the next months, the next few months, will go to more of the near-term and long-term recovery efforts in every community that has been affected. So we really stand as a partner with Touro to support their effort, get you the resources, the dollars, the money long-term needed for the residents across Long Island. The 211 system is really a great information tool for Long Islanders to ask any question, to be routed to the right referrals. We maintain with getting the information through the OEM centers, all the shelters opening, the closing, where the food is, distribution points, and so on. So, and I want to just reiterate what Gwen had said about the Long Island VOAD. Health and Welfare has done a fabulous job in the coordination since Monday of a call that takes place every day with about 60 organizations on that call, from federal, from state, from county, and then from the community-based organizations. And it is just amazing to hear out in the field what is taking place in terms of, you know, who needs space for warehousing, how many baby kits have been donated, where are the flood kits, where to deploy people, how to get people to a mobile area. It is just an immense coordination through the Long Island VOAD system, and then the United Way hooking that 211 system up to all those organizations, so then that information could be funneled out to residents. So I want to applaud, you know, every community, but that we are representing the health and welfare, the welfare of people. Long Islanders, I think the Health and Welfare Council and the Gwen's leadership has done an outstanding job, and along with Touro, to bring this project for today. And the United Way is committed to really, for Dean to step up and support this project financially. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Theresa, and we look forward to being part of 211 and all other initiatives that United Way develops where there's a component for our students, legal or community service. So I want to introduce you to some of the people at Touro Law Center that have been on the ground working for the last 2 or 3 days to bring this to fruition and who are going to provide some of the sustained leadership with this. But I also want to preface this by saying I sent out an email 2 nights ago and to faculty, staff, and students and said, anybody who has power, if you can read this, and if you can safely get to the Law Center, tomorrow we're going to have an organizational meeting for anybody who wants to talk about TLC-HEART and what it is that we could do. I'm fairly new to the community. I wasn't sure if anybody would show up. And how heartening that 80 people showed up yesterday, students, faculty, and staff. And I know from emails that I got and from phone calls that came in later that triple, quadruple that number wanted to be here but could not be here. That's what Touro Law Center is all about. We're a community with a heart and soul, and you're about to meet some of the people that really exemplify this. We are very fortunate to have on our faculty Professor Tracy McGaugh, who's got considerable experience in the area of disaster relief law. And among other things, she's going to be helping us coordinate our training effort to make sure that the information that we provide is accurate. So, Professor McGaugh.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here. More than that, I'm humbled by the Law Center's response to this particular disaster. I was in Houston immediately after Katrina and was there in the Astrodome and the Reliance Center Arena when we had displaced citizens from New Orleans and Houston for several weeks. I was in New Orleans for several months after that and have continued to work in New Orleans for the last 7 years. I was in Haiti directly after the earthquake and have also provided some consulting to organizations in Pakistan after they had flooding a couple of years ago. And I have seen big disasters, but I have never seen this kind of response. I've never seen this kind of response immediately with people coming together from so many different sectors, nonprofit, government, the law school community, the students, the staff, the faculty. And so I'm very heartened that we've gotten started so early, and I think it bodes well for our ability to help all of the communities that have been impacted by the storm. It's very optimistic to say that we'll have all of this wrapped up in 6 months and that everybody's going to be back on their feet. These issues take years. The first issues that come up are pretty predictable, though, and so that's the benefit of having people with disaster experience. And while I'm certainly one person who has legal experience in a disaster context, we have had a very active student disaster relief network since before I arrived at Touro Law Center. And so we have students with a lot of disaster law experience with various in various contexts. And so, you know, I'm a very small piece of the wisdom that we're gonna use to bring to bear on this particular disaster. And so I'm ready to get to work. I'm ready to start talking about the issues. In addition to the issues that have been mentioned already, what I want to add to that are shelter issues that we're probably not hearing about just yet, but we probably will in the next few days. There's always a concern, just like Congressman Israel said, you see the best and the worst of people in a disaster. And so any situation that was already stressed tends to crack under the disaster. And so we're going to have some concerns about making sure that people have a mechanism to report sexual assault, both in and out of shelters. We want to make sure that people have a mechanism for reporting domestic violence and issues that affect personal safety in the immediate aftermath of the disaster. And those things are going to come up before we're able to get into the insurance issues and things like that. So I'm grateful to have the experience to share, and I just could not be more humbled and more delighted by the response of the Law Center. And this is why I came to Touro Law Center, because like the Dean said, it does have a heart and a soul, and we're looking forward to helping the citizens of Suffolk and Nassau and anyone that we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Professor. We're really fortunate that you are part of our community. From the minute that the storm hit and the minute that our students started to feel the effects, I was fortunate to be able to be in constant communication with our wonderful Student Bar Association leader, Erica Vladimir, and I'd like her to say a few words on behalf of the student body.
Thank you very much, Dean. Again, my name is Erica Vladimir. I'm the Student Bar Association president here at Touro. You know, our students come from their own communities, a lot of the communities that have been impacted by the storm, Long Island, Staten Island, other parts of New York, the city, and Connecticut, New Jersey. But the fact remains is that we all come together here at Touro Law Center, and we are our own community with the faculty, administration, and staff here as well. And so I've been very fortunate enough to work with our TLC Fund coordinator, Leela, in reaching out to our students, not only to see who wants to help, but who needs the help. A lot of students are without power. A lot of students are cold, don't have heat, don't have hot water. They're hungry. They lost their books. And there are a recognizable amount who have lost everything. And we are here as a Touro Law Center community to work with them and help them get back on their feet and try and help them continue through everyday life while struggling with these struggles that Sandy has brought to them at home. And so myself and the TLC Fund and many other student organizations and student organization leaders here are coming together, compiling our budgets and donating it back to the students. We are collecting donations, items such as sheets and pillows and clothes, non-perishable food items. We're opening up our doors, those of us who do have power and hot water, to students who don't. We're in the process of collecting books from students who had them from the past for those who lost theirs in floods and other damage. And so I'm very, very proud to be a student leader and just a part of this Touro Law Center community. And together we will help one another, and I can't wait to see what we do for each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica, and the work that you're doing is critically important, because we can't forget, even though we plan on having classes on Monday, that, you know, that's just showing up, except people have to have their head in the game too. And so we have to deal with a lot of the stresses that our students are bringing into the Law Center because of the disarray that a lot of them are facing in their personal lives. As Professor McGaugh mentioned, Touro has been fortunate to have had a long established student disaster relief network that has gone around the country and engaged in legal issues. So not only do we have student expertise, as the professor mentioned, but we also have significant alumni expertise for all of the students or now alums who have participated in this program in the past. The president of SDRN this year is Matt Rubino, and he's been working with us around the clock in order to get our TLC-HEART up and running, and so I'd like to introduce Matt.
Thank you very much, Dean Salkin. I also want to thank everyone that has come today to support this relief effort. The Student Disaster Relief Network was created in 2005 as part of the Hurricane Relief Network, which was established in many law schools around this country in response to the aftermath left in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. Both the Touro Law Center and the SDRN have continued their commitment to disaster relief ever since. Traditionally, twice a year, the group takes trips down to New Orleans and to the Gulf Coast area to give free legal assistance to those that were affected and continue to be affected by not only Hurricane Katrina, but as well as the BP oil spill. We are now going to apply our training that we have learned in the Gulf Coast to aid the victims and the people who have been affected by Sandy here in the tri-state area, and we're determined to help out in any way that we can in this relief effort. Thank you very much.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and Tom Maligno is here with us. He'll be available for questions afterwards, but more importantly, he's available to take your contact information so that we can figure out how to best plug you into our efforts. So thank you, everybody, for coming.